Hi everyone! Welcome to the second module of your online Advising Fellow training course, Advising Fellow Toolkit. My name is Patrice Mullen and I'm the Program Manager at Matriculate. I'm originally from Bakersfield, California, and I did undergrad at UC Davis. Now that you've become familiar with Matriculate's model, the basic elements of your role, and the fundamental skills which will guide your work, we're going to take a deeper dive into your advising toolkit. By the end of this session, you'll walk away with an understanding of how program goals shape your role as an advising fellow, as well as the systems and resources available to ensure that you're successful, organized, and supported throughout your engagement in the fellowship. Before we get into your toolkit, I'm going to start by introducing three core elements of our program structure: impact goals, milestones, and curriculum. Together, these pieces form the foundation of the advising timeline and all of the resources at your disposal. Let's start with Matriculate's impact goals, which are the concrete metrics that guide our work by helping us measure program impact. In order to translate our mission into actionable goals, we identified these three core behaviors as the foundation of our program structure and advising timeline. While we know that advising fellows' impact goes far beyond these numbers, these goals give us consistent benchmarks to measure certain aspects of that impact. After establishing those core metrics, we broke the impact goals down into key tasks that help students stay on track to enroll at a high graduation rate school in the fall. We refer to these tasks as high school fellow milestones. As you review the milestone dates, you might notice that most of them are earlier than the actual dates many of the items are actually due. There are two reasons for this. The first is that in the college process, it's important that students are proactive rather than reactive. By submitting important documents early, students will have time to troubleshoot, follow up, and make sure they have everything submitted correctly. Second, if we notice that a student is behind on these milestones, this provides a bit of troubleshooting time for you and Matriculate staff to intervene with the student before the deadline. For example, with the December 15th college application deadline, we know that most colleges and high schools go on break around this time, so we want students to maximize their resources before break begins because they might not have access to support when it matters most. So now that we've covered Matriculate's impact goals and the high school fellow milestones, that brings us to your core advising resource, the curriculum. This flow chart represents the backwards planning Matriculate does in order to make sure your students meet the three major impact goals. The curriculum is designed to help advising fellows support students in accomplishing those major tasks correctly and on time, which in turn helps prepare students to matriculate into a best match and fit college. The curriculum is your go-to resource. I'll show you how to access and navigate it in a few moments, as well as the other important advising tools. Now that you have an idea of how Matriculate measures impact and develops the advising timeline, we're going to discuss what this looks like in practice and what resources are at your disposal throughout the fellowship. At this point, you might be wondering how on earth you'll be able to support students in meeting those big impact goals and milestones. It's really important to remember that as an advising fellow, you're not quite a college counselor and not fully a mentor. We don't expect you to become an expert in the field of college counseling. Your role is to find the balance between mentor and college counselor by acting as a guide, thought partner, and support to your students as they navigate their paths to college. The rest of this session is all about the tools and resources you'll have at your disposal to tailor to your students' college process. To get started, let's break down what a typical month in the life of an advising fellow looks like. Keep in mind that this is just a snapshot to help identify how program milestones impact your work and the resources we have developed for you to be successful. We'll be walking through your role in much more detail at the on-campus training. In the first box, you'll see that training doesn't end with this course and certification. Each month throughout your term, you'll engage in at least 3 learning opportunities: a webinar, a working group meeting, and an all-fellowship meeting led by your head advising fellows and staff. In the second box, we have advising. Each month, you'll meet virtually with each of your high school fellows, and in between meetings, connect with them at least weekly. In the third box, you'll see that there are 2 key pieces of information you'll share with Matriculate headquarters each month. Session summaries are brief updates on your HSF's progress that you complete after each virtual advising session. And AF check-ins are a monthly moment to provide feedback on your experience as well as student updates. In total, you should expect to spend no more than 4 to 6 hours per week on all of the activities listed here. As you manage your advising fellow responsibilities, we provide a wealth of resources, tools, and support along the way. And for the duration of this session, we'll walk through several of these. Matriculate has developed a resource base specifically for you called the Advising Fellow Toolkit. You have access to this base now, and you should bookmark it if you haven't already. This will be your go-to resource hub throughout the program cycle. All of the resources I mentioned can be found here, and at the end of this session, we'll do a walkthrough of the base so you can see it in action. The advising curriculum is the first piece we should start at. It's the core content you'll cover in each session with your high school fellows. Curriculum units are posted in chronological order and include a lesson plan and links to the HSF worksheets. There are rough deadlines noted on each unit, but the curriculum timeline should certainly be tailored to each student's needs. You can find all the curriculum as well as the accompanying HSF session guides in the Advising Fellow Toolkit. In addition to the curriculum, one of the most important resources you'll find in your toolkit is the Advising Fellow Roadmap. This is your essential guide for successfully navigating your fellowship. It provides an overview of key advising moments, high school fellow milestones, a curriculum timeline, major dates and deadlines, all meeting topics, advising action items, and Matriculate's administrative asks. It is one of the key resources you'll be utilizing to stay organized and on track throughout your term. There are two main components in the AF roadmap, which I'll preview now. The first component of the AF roadmap is the program cycle overview. This is the first resource you should review as a new advisor. It provides a month-by-month snapshot of the full advising fellow commitment, highlighting key advising moments, relevant curriculum units, meeting and training topics, and action items. Make sure to review this thoroughly in order to gain an understanding of what to expect from your time as an advising fellow and the general flow of the next 3 semesters. After the program cycle overview, the roadmap provides more detailed advising checklists divided by season: junior spring, junior summer, senior fall, and senior spring. Each advising module begins with 2 to 3 core goals for that period, and then outlines important tasks you should complete with each of your students to stay on track for big milestones. The checklists contain important deadlines, links to related curriculum units and resources, and suggested target dates for completion. The Advising Fellow Roadmap is your first stop for understanding how to tailor the curriculum to your high school fellows and set advising goals throughout their college process. Use this goal as a framework for adapting the curriculum and a resource for planning out your advising term. Because it contains the full scope of advising moments and Matriculate's asks, you should be able to turn to this resource at any point to help answer questions like, am I on track with my HSF, and what's coming next? All of these uses work together to help ensure that you're on track, know what's ahead, and help you follow through with the roles and responsibilities we discussed at the beginning. In addition to the curriculum and the AF roadmap, your toolkit contains a number of supplemental resources that will come in handy throughout your term. You can find these in the Advising Resources tab of your toolkit, categorized by topic. The high school fellow also has access to handouts that make it easier for them to follow along during your sessions. This resource has space for them to take notes, keep track of their next steps, and easy to access links to the resources used in the session. You can find a link to this in the Advising Resources tab in your toolkit. In the Important Links tab, you'll find any form that is submitted to Matriculate. This includes session summaries, AF monthly check-ins, and unresponsive student reports, which you'll learn more about at on-campus training. Every month, the Matriculate team sends out an Advising Fellow Look Ahead, which contains advising action items, new resources, HSF and AF opportunities, and highlights from the Matriculate community. And these are also added to the AF toolkit as they're released. While Matriculate strives to provide comprehensive and useful advising tools, one of the most valuable resources available to you is the Matriculate community. This network is comprised of Matriculate staff, head advising fellows, your campus fellowship, and advisors all over the country. Your head advising fellows and campus lead will check in throughout each month to provide support in keeping you on track to meet fellowship expectations, but we strongly encourage you to tap into this incredible network and reach out proactively to raise concerns, share feedback, share great news, and ask questions. Here's a quick recap of the resources, tools, and support you'll have along the way as an advising fellow. We're constantly developing and refining resources to meet your needs, and each year we learn so much from our advisors and students. If there's a resource you can't find as you're navigating your advising term, let us know. We'll do our best to make sure you have what you need to be successful. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Chrisleine, who will be walking you through the Advising Fellow Toolkit on Airtable.
Hello everyone, my name is Chrisleine Temple. I'm a program associate at Matriculate and the campus lead for Williams, Johns Hopkins, and the Virtual Advising Fellowship. In this session, we're going to understand where to find resources to prepare for advising sessions and complete the online training course. We'll be learning all of these features by doing a walkthrough of the Advising Fellow Toolkit. I'm going to share my screen so you can more clearly see what the Advising Fellow Toolkit looks like. Please follow along as I take you through the resources. This is the Advising Fellow Toolkit. We highly recommend that advising fellows bookmark this page, as it will be helpful when you are working with your high school students and preparing for sessions. The first tab you will see is the Advising Curriculum. This tab includes all of the curriculum units. Each curriculum is listed in chronological order. So, when you first get your high school student, you can start right from the beginning. As you can see, each curriculum has the entire agenda, suggested completion of your first meeting, and the length of each meeting. Next up, we have Advising Resources. This is where you can find additional resources such as the Advising Fellow Roadmap, which you can find here. This roadmap is a resource that you can use month to month to figure out what you should be working on as an advising fellow with your high school students. The Advising Resources also includes an up-to-date list of all high graduation rate schools. In addition, it also includes other financial aid resources for you and your students to use. On the next tab are important links. Here, you can find the Advising Fellow Handbook and other important links such as the session summary form and the unresponsive student report. You can find out more about working groups in the next tab. We'll talk more later about working groups, so don't worry if you aren't sure what they are yet. You'll learn soon. The following tab, Monthly Webinars, contains all of the recordings of webinars that we ask advisors to watch. In addition to being emailed out, you can find links to these webinars in the AF Toolkit under this tab. This tab also includes external webinars, found here, from other college access sources such as QuestBridge and Jack Kent Cook. Lastly, one of the most important resources that advising fellows have are each other. That's why we have the AF directory. This is where you can find information about all other advising fellows at Matriculate. You can see their majors and what schools they attend. So if you have a high school student who has questions about particular programs or majors, you can simply take a look at the AF directory and find another advising fellow who may know about this intended major or this program. As you can see, there are a lot of resources available to you on the Advising Fellow Toolkit. It's important that you familiarize yourself with this list over the next few weeks and months. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope that it was useful in helping you learn how to navigate the Advising Fellow Toolkit.
Thanks, Chrisleine. So, to wrap up this session, there are 2 key takeaways to remember. One is that Matriculate's curriculum is designed to guide you in helping students achieve key milestones in the college process. The second is that the Advising Fellow Toolkit, which you just walked through with Chrisleine, will be your go-to resource hub throughout your fellowship. For next steps, you should spend some time familiarizing yourself with the curriculum and the AF roadmap, which are both found in the Advising Fellow Toolkit on Airtable. The exit ticket for this session will be the content test, which will assess your ability to navigate these resources. Feel free to keep the curriculum open, use notes, and ask your HAFs or peers any questions you have as you complete the test. In the next session, you'll be taking a deeper dive into advising content with Lakeisha, who will walk you through the process of creating a balanced college list, the very first milestone you'll be working on with your students. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.